Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have such a nice group here. I am especially thankful for our three panelists that are joining us out of their busy schedule as second-year Silver Scholar students. By way of introduction, my name is Amber Walsh. I'm a Senior Associate Director for Admissions here at the School of Management. I'm also an alum of the program from '09, not the Silver Scholars program, but I very much appreciated the Silver Scholars that were part of my class. So today's webinar is called the MBA Pathways for College Seniors. And we're going to be talking about a very unique program at SOM, which is our Silver Scholars program that allows college seniors to start immediately after undergrad. You may be looking at other programs that also provide early access, like the 2+2 programs or deferred enrollment. And this is just a little bit different. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time up front to talk about the Silver Scholars program specifically in its structure. And then we're going to get into really understanding the student experience from our panelists. We also have my colleague, Jen Jansen, who is behind the scenes and is going to help us technically. We will jump in, and if you have questions, you can put them in the Q&A when we get to the panelist section. If you have questions for our panelists, I will also be monitoring those questions to try to fill in from your suggestions. So starting off, and I realize that I don't have my shared screen, so let me just share the presentation. Here we go. So hopefully you all are seeing my screen, and I'm going to jump into giving a little bit of insight about the Silver Scholars program and why do the Silver Scholars program. So it's a really unique program. There's none like it in any other MBA program, at least not that I am aware of. And it's for candidates who are coming out of undergrad. They don't have full-time work experience, but they really have a great idea of what they would like to do. And an MBA fits in well to their plans to springboard their careers. So the Silver Scholars program allows students to accelerate their careers. It gives them this expanded professional network up front, leveraging the education, the resources, the network of SOM and Yale University as a whole, right out of college. You also have our career development office that serves as a main resource for you, helping you to examine possible career paths, developing your presentation, networking, and interview skills, and helps you pursue your employment opportunities between your first and second year of the MBA, as well as your post-MBA position. So you are fully integrated into the MBA, the full-time MBA class, and all of the clubs that are available to our MBA students. So quickly, in terms of the structure, so you come in for your first year directly out from your undergraduate experience, and you are getting this kind of management toolkit up front, right? You spend your first year at SOM developing the basic skills and mindset of a manager through our innovative core curriculum. And after the first year, you spend 1 to 5 years. And so it's really each Silver Scholar can really use this time in a way that fits them and specialize in the way that they would like to and have those experience. So between 1 to 5 years, it can be one full-time work experience. It could be several full-time work experiences. It could be project work across different spaces. So you spend that time really honing your skills, putting your management education into practice, and developing your leadership skills, and probably also identifying where you have gaps or maybe where you have additional interests. And then you return to SOM for your second year. And the second year SOM is entirely electives. And this is where you can really hone in on skills that you want to develop or interests that you have. and really make the MBA experience something specific to you and meeting all of your interests and needs. And this session is not about admissions. This is really a session about the student experience, but I will just note up front, because people are really curious about who gets in and what profile we're looking for. And I think you'll see through our panelists as well that we are really looking for a diverse group of individuals. We don't favor a particular industry or major. There's no quotas for regions or countries, and there's no specific profile that we are looking for. We're looking for that diversity in our applicant pool, diverse areas of study, cultural diversity, diverse points of view. What makes someone a great Silver Scholars applicant is really different candidate to candidate. What we are looking at in a holistic way are three things. We're looking for academic preparedness, so looking at your performance during your undergraduate experience, your test score. We do require either the GRE or GMAT. Secondly, we're looking for your impact, so your demonstration of your ability to be a leader and collaborator in a professional setting. So this could be in your internships, it could be in your activities that you've participated in at this point. It'll be reflected in your letters of recommendation. And then the third thing, and something that's really core to who we are at SOM, is your ability to be a good community member. We learn as a group at SOM. We really love the collaborative environment of our school and the curiosity that everyone brings about one another, making it a really dynamic learning environment. So we're looking for that, like how you have been part of a community at school or in communities in which you have participated. I won't go into detail on this, but just to know that we have many joint degree options. These are also available to our Silver Scholar applicants if you're looking to have a specialization in 2 degrees, your MBA plus another degree, that there are all of these amazing options for you. And I will just note that these are the components and the deadlines for applications. And the application is the same for MBA students for the whole class. You'll just have a particular question that will ask you if you're a college senior. And in that sense, you'll give us a little bit more information than we would generally ask about your internship experiences. But generally, the application is the same with 2 caveats. So for Silver Scholars, we are looking for 2 letters of recommendation, but different from the MBA class where it's 2 professional letters of recommendation. We're looking for 1 professional letter of recommendation, so maybe from your internship experiences, and 1 academic letter of recommendation. So this could be a professor or an advisor at your undergraduate institution. The second thing that's just slightly different is that for interviews, which are invite only, generally for MBA students, you are interviewed by alumni or current students, but for Silver Scholars, you are interviewed by a member of the admissions team. So I'm going to stop there because I really want to get to the good part of this session, which is getting to know our students and their experiences. And again, we'll keep an eye on the Q&A too to answer questions that are coming from our virtual audience. So let's just do a quick round of introductions, maybe your name, when you started. It's kind of confusing the SOM class structure because you come in with one class and you're normally leaving with another. But when you started your experience, where you're from, and maybe where you went to undergrad. So maybe Lucy, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Nice to see everyone. Thank you so much for attending. My name is Lucy. I started my first year in 22-23. So I gapped for 2 years and now I'm currently in my second year. I'm originally from Guangzhou, China. I did my undergrad at Vanderbilt University down in Tennessee. And I was studying econ and math during this period. Should we also introduce what we did in our gap years, or maybe just leave it like that?
Why don't we do that for our next round?
Sounds good.
Jasmine, do you want to follow up?
Yep. Hi, everyone. I'm Jasmine. I'm a second year Silver Scholar. I did my undergrad at USC. I studied entrepreneurship, and I'm from Hong Kong.
Fantastic. And last but not least, Aaron.
Hi, everybody. My name is Aaron Ventresca. I'm a second year Silver Scholar. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I did my undergrad at Princeton, where I took up economics and finance. And it's a pleasure to meet you all, and thank you all for attending.
Excellent. So why don't we start off by talking about, the Silver Scholars Program is a pretty unique program among early access, among MBA programs in general. And so maybe each of you could talk about your decision to apply and ultimately accept your spot as part of the MBA class that you started with. And, why did you choose this over maybe a more traditional MBA path of starting to work and then maybe joining an MBA program? So maybe we'll go in reverse order. So maybe Aaron, you want to kick us off?
For sure. I started my own production company while I was an undergrad. It was a lot running a company and doing Princeton at the same time, but I was very fortunate to have that opportunity. So I had a lot of the skills in the entertainment space. I was doing theater production, somewhat professionally. So I had a lot of the artistic and creative skills, but I found myself lacking some of the managerial and people skills that would make me a better leader. So the Silver Scholars Program was of particular interest to me because of the ability to go right into this management focused training program for the next 2+ years. So again, I had a lot of experience in this creative domain, but I was looking for more of the business skills. And I knew right away this is what I wanted to do professionally, something entertainment adjacent. So jumping straight from undergrad to a graduate program made a lot of sense.
Yeah, I love that. And that you knew that you had these skills that you needed to fill and that an MBA could get you there faster. And I think that's fairly common for Silver Scholars and really why we started this program 20 years ago. I think Jasmine, do you want to
Yes.
go?
My reasons are very similar to Aaron. In undergrad, I did a lot of entrepreneurship and my skills were in product management. And I knew it was a career that I wanted to pursue. And looking at the career ladder, a lot of the senior PMs all have MBAs. And so I thought it would be prudent to, get my first year MBA, just get some experience in the business domain, especially since I didn't take many business classes in undergrad. And I also wanted to place my roots on the East Coast, and because I went to college on the West Coast, a lot of my network was there. And so I wanted to get an early start in building connections on the East Coast.
I love that. And also filling in that, like building your network, getting that exposure, bi-coastal exposure. I love that as well. Lucy?
Yeah, so I guess my reasons may be a little bit different. So I always knew I wanted to do a master's. I think it's just kind of in the East Asian kid mindset that's always in the picture. When I was looking around for the potential opportunities, I came across the Silver Scholar Program, and I found it to be just very unique and special and very tailored to my needs because I wanted to go into consulting either during like immediately after graduation or somewhere in the future because that's just an area that I've been interested in throughout undergrad. I felt like the plan was to do a master and then do that, but then I saw the Silver Scholars Program. I was like, consultants do go to MBAs, and it really does fit into the long run trajectory. It also encouraged me to try some things, maybe consulting in different fields, in different geographies that I would not have otherwise considered. So that's how it worked out for me. And I'm really glad that it came to the picture. And yeah.
Fantastic. And one of the things that I love about Silver Scholars is that, first of all, it's a highly ambitious group. It's also a really creative group. And I love that, for each of you, you may choose different paths for your extended employment experience. And, I think most common is people take a year to take this time, but we do have folks that come back, 3 to 5 years later, depending on what they want to do. So I'd love for you each to talk about your kind of gap experience and your approach to that. And maybe you can also touch on a little bit of the resources that you used at SOM or beyond at Yale to leverage your networks and to access those opportunities. So Jasmine, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, for sure. So I was at Duolingo as a product manager, and I will be going back after I graduate. And it was, I think, a very fulfilling experience. I personally, I mean, I love product management. I think Duolingo was a great place, and it was in Pittsburgh. So I spent a lot of that time, building my like on the job skills. But I would say SOM was very valuable in giving me that opportunity. I think not only so I think because Duolingo is a small company, like the SOM network is especially strong in there. I think there's two SOM alums, and I spoke to both of them, and they were very
Oh,
helpful in the
fantastic.
process. And when I started working there, like, we continued, building that relationship. And also, a student here, a cohort mate, she also knew someone working at Duolingo, and she connected me to him as well. And so we kind of had like my own outreach, but also my friends were around to help me connect me to others. Um, and so I think, and then also I used a lot of Tech Club's resources as well to get me prepared for the interview process. And so I'd say SOM was really instrumental in helping me getting that job.
And I'll just make a note for our virtual audience that we have a lot of professional clubs, and these are run by the students. And often it is the second year students that are really holding the hands of first year students to help them think about their targets, to prepare for the interview process, to invite speakers to come in and talk to them about the industry trends, to organize career tracks. So these clubs can be incredibly powerful. Erin, do you want to go next?
For sure. My internship was at Warner Brothers Discovery in the beautiful city of Miami, Florida. I was doing corporate strategy for their Latin America division. If you've been following the news, you know Warner Brothers has been in the news a lot recently with the potential Paramount bid and acquisition. So there's a lot of question marks around the company right now. So I'm not quite sure what's going to happen with maybe any kind of return offer or whether we will even have Warner Brothers in the next year or so. But the experience was incredibly fulfilling. Learned a lot of industry specific skills, acquired a lot of domain knowledge about TV and film, which I did not have previously. In terms of resources, the Yale Career Development Office within SOM was of particular help. There's a team of dedicated career coaches and professionals who will help you with resume review, mock interviews, networking, informal conversations, just bouncing ideas off of people to have a different perspective. So I was very fortunate for the career support from the CDO, the Career Development Office. Additionally, resources outside of Yale or maybe larger Yale resources, the Yale Connect, SOM Connect. These are platforms that we have access to, which allow you to connect with alumni of SOM and of Yale more broadly. As Jasmine mentioned, the networking piece is really, really important. And as you will soon find out, if you decide to pursue this path, the networking is one of the more important pieces in terms of recruiting and finding work. So there's a lot of great resources within SOM and in Yale more broadly to assist with the job search.
Fantastic. Lucy?
Yeah, so I was doing consulting during my gap year. I was currently in the Middle East offices for about 2 years doing consulting. I think what really made this experience very special and about how SOM helped me to pursue that path was when you come here, it's a little bit different on undergrad. You kind of get international viewpoint into the opportunities that there was. As an international student myself, I mean, previously my eyes were only on really China and the US. But coming here, I got exposed to people from all over the world, and it's really a different type of exposure than you get like in the undergrad experience. And I actually got opened up to opportunities that was also in other parts of the world, such as the Middle East, such as Dubai and Saudi Arabia, that I previously never even imagined. And I think what was really encouraging about the structure of this program, how you always get the opportunity to come back, is that you just feel so empowered to try something new. And for me, that was a new geography in the Middle East, and absolutely enjoyed it. I love the idea of just learning about the new culture and also seeing the different development projects that's been going on there in the past few years. So that was a wonderful experience, and definitely agree on the alumni portion and the consulting club portion that helped me achieve that goal, whether it was interview preps or just connecting with people that have worked there to learn more about experiences. So yeah, that was my experience. I think going forward, my vision right now is to go back to China and continue to do consulting. Unfortunately, not the Middle East again, but I think it was a very great experience add-on to my life that I would have not experienced without SOM.
I think you each highlighted kind of the importance of this extended work experience. Part of the Silver Scholars Program is that you have this exposure to things that maybe you've never considered in terms of geography or in terms of roles, or having that insight of challenging and complex corporate environments. All of those pieces, I think, this experience gives you that insight and allows you to adjust. And I also just like to highlight that, we ask people for their plans up front in the application process, but we also know that most of you don't end up doing what you tell us that you're going to do in your application, and for good reason. I think what you're talking about, Lucy, is that you get exposed to all of these people and all of these opportunities. As our dean likes to say, you are always at the frontier of knowledge when you are in a top MBA program like SOM. And so you just get that exposure, and you're surrounded by a classroom of people with diverse experiences as well. I would love for each of you to talk a little bit about your classroom experience. Maybe like a note about what it was like to come in as a first-year Silver Scholar, where maybe it feels intimidating that you are coming in with less work experience than your classmates. How did that feel? Did you feel comfortable in that space? And maybe the experience now as a returning Silver Scholar, where you are fully integrated as well, but it's with a new class, for example. So whoever feels moved to answer first, please go ahead.
I'm happy to kick us off. In terms of the classroom experience, I will say everybody's incredibly welcoming. The SOM community is unlike anything else that I've experienced. Everybody's like a family. They sort you into different cohorts. You can think of it almost like Harry Potter, where you have different Harry Potter houses. So you're with the cohort of about 70 people, and you follow this cohort around to your different core classes. So over the course of the first year, you really build this familial environment with your cohort. We also have smaller groups called learning teams. They're 4 to 8 people, and these are classmates who you typically do assignments with. They're randomly assigned the teams, but I find that most people grow really, really close within these small groups, and they become kind of like home away from home in a sense.
Yeah, I can hop right in. I was in the same cohort as Erin, and I felt very much the same kind of family bond. And I also think that it's a wonderful learning experience to be in a classroom with people from all different industries. Like there are industries I didn't even know about before coming here. And just hearing everyone's, and people are very open when it comes to giving advice. Like I feel I can go to any of my classmates and ask about their career path, and they're very open. Also because they know that like we're younger, they're more receptive to giving advice. And I also think Silver Scholars can offer a very unique perspective in the classroom as well, because we are new into the workforce, but we just came out of school and we're learning about things that are topical that maybe some, full-time MBAers haven't had the time to look into yet. And so I think having that perspective to offer is also a really good experience.
Yeah, definitely agree with all that has been said so far. So something I guess maybe just add some details into that. I think the first year was definitely very easy to get into the community, like the whole setup of orientation and just being with your cohort, your learning team, doing like the first class that we had, which is like managing groups and teams, where they had us essentially worked with our learning teams for extended hours, really helped a lot in just getting to know people in your cohort, getting know people in your learning teams, and build those friendships from the first days of your MBA journey. And this is the same regardless whether you're like a Silver Scholar or regular MBA. So I think it's definitely a very like I know it can be a little bit intimidating at first, but I think it's definitely very easy process to get to fit into the SOM community in your first year. And coming back from the second year, I mean, maybe that would actually be a little bit more difficult portion because for my case, I came back with two other silver scholars who were from my year, but other than them, I honestly did not know much people in the school. But that's why community is always very welcoming. Like we quickly fit in and it's always easy to make friends. So I think it's definitely a good experience.
I love that. I think that that's something that I often get questions about for silver scholars, like how is it going to feel? How am I going to be received by the other MBA students? And the experience, I think, is fairly universal, that people feel quite welcome. Silver scholars are not, going around with a sign saying, "Hey, I'm a silver scholar," and we purposely make the learning team so that you have a diversity of people. And I know from my own experience, like we really appreciated our silver scholars who are coming in with these fresh minds from undergrad and really bring a lot to the classroom experience for all of us. And maybe, continuing on that trend, maybe you can each talk about like an experience that you've had at SOM. Maybe it could be, we have the global studies requirement, or it could be a class that you just has been really useful for you in terms of your personal or professional interests, or some kind of club experience or other experience that has been a highlight for you so far.
I can jump in. I have two experiences. The first one is the Global Network Week. So we're required to do like a global experience, and I went to Singapore with like I think 10 other SOM students, and it was wonderful. I think we had a partnership with a university in Singapore, and we took business classes there, and we learned about doing business in Asia, and that's an interest that I've always been passionate about. And so it's really cool to see that SOM gives you that opportunity to go to other places and learn about business in their respective countries. And a second thing, I think there's a class I'm taking that's cross-listed with the School of Music, which is another very cool thing about Yale, is that there are tons of classes across different departments. And so this music class, it's called Leadership Strategies for Music Presenters. And it's kind of a class that
Amazing.
mixes music and business. And so you have 5 School of Music students and 5 School of Management students, and we partner up to kind of create a venture. And we kind of share our own experiences in this class. It's a very small class. And so that class has been, I think, one of the best things I've done here to date.
That sounds like an amazing class. And I love, you've highlighted two things that I think are really unique about SOM. And one is our global network of other business schools. We have a partnership with 33 business schools around the world, each that have their own specialties. And we have these global network weeks where you can go and take a course, an intensive course at those schools around the world. It's just one of the many ways that you can fulfill your global studies requirement. There's other ones called the International Experience or Global Social Enterprise. Each of these is really unique and shows this infinite emphasis that we have at SOM on really making a focus on global diversity and global opportunities, both within the classroom and outside of the classroom. And then you also talked about taking classes outside of SOM. And it's important to note that for your electives at SOM or part of your MBA program, you can take all of those courses outside of the School of Management if you want. With any of our partner schools, with Yale College, people take advantage of this to take classes on sustainability or clean energy at the School of the Environment, or to take courses at the Jackson School of Public Policy or the School of Engineering. So there's so many opportunities that we try to remove any barrier to your own research and your own growth professionally and personally.
I will say that I was also fortunate to take this music class that Jasmine is describing. I would highly recommend. It was excellent. In terms of other experiences, I did my global network week in Madrid at the IE Business School, which was absolutely fantastic. There's one core class that I'd like to promote. It's called Modeling Managerial Decisions. A lot of people really don't like this class, but it was one of my favorite classes. Reason being is it combines these two very disparate domains of linear programming and optimization with this more qualitative decision making that managers often have to do. So I was just really struck by how unique this class is in the sense that it took these two very different things and brought them in the same classroom under the same within the same context. So I think classes like this, where we're combining different skill domains, looking about cross-curricular connections, I think those kind of classes are super interesting and they're very specific to Yale.
Yeah, I think just to add on to that, I also had really amazing international experiences and class experiences as well. So I took an IE trip, which is an international experience trip, where we visit another country, or I guess in my IE trip, two countries, so that we can visit businesses in those countries and really have a extended experience learning about the business environments in those regions. So I went to Frankfurt and Amsterdam. We visited a lot of companies in the region. It was really insightful, but also just really fun because you get to go on this almost field trip with, I think it was, say, 50 classmates about that, and a larger group, but everyone's super welcoming and definitely a great experience. It was actually my first time in Europe, so also quite eye-opening from that perspective. In terms of classes, I'm really enjoying a class I'm taking right now called Innovation and Frontiers in Medicine. I think it's cross-listed with the School of Public Health and also the School of Medicine because we have MDs, medical doctorates, and also MPH, Master of Public Health students in there. We also have PhDs in biomedical engineering. And of course, we have MBAs and a few other management degree programs. So it's a very diverse class. A professor brings in industry practitioners every week from the medicine field to talk about their innovations in pharmaceuticals, in health tech. And I think it's just very interesting how to being able to hear those perspectives and also listen to some of the questions that my peers from maybe the School of Medicine, the future doctors have for those companies. Understand the things that they are passionate about, a really eye-opening view into it. And I guess outside of the classroom setting, just to add on another experience that I really enjoyed was the many panels that happen at SOM during the weekends. So one good thing about being consulting recruiting is that you get done with recruiting relatively earlier in the year, which means that for the rest of the year, you get to explore a lot of different activities around campus. And I was fortunate enough to being a campus where they are hosting sessions on clean energy, sessions on AI blockchain like over the weekends. And those are usually free to attend with a very small registration fee, like $10. So just a lot of exposure for that regard, and I'm really enjoying it.
Excellent. And I mean, I think right now we have the Clean Energy Conference that's happening right in the building with us. There's constantly conferences and events going on. And I think it's nice to note that these are student-led initiatives. We really try to give the space at SOM for students to create these types of opportunities to bring in leaders from around the world to speak about important topics. And there's just constantly something going on and available to students. And Lucy, you talked about how much you appreciate the dynamic of having medical students and public health students in the class with you. And I think that is an absolute strength as well. So even if you're not a joint degree student, you have joint degree students or students from around campus that are attending these courses with you and bringing in those diverse perspectives. We have world-renowned faculty, but a lot of the learning happens from that engagement between students and across the entire campus. And Erin, I love that you highlighted a bit about our core curriculum and the way that many of the classes are co-taught by faculty from different disciplines, which creates this really interesting tension within the classroom space where we're talking about like the analytical as well as the behavioral. And it makes this learning environment that much more dynamic. It makes the conversation that more nuanced. And it's something that we've heard feedback from employers saying that they appreciate the problem solving skills and the ability for SOM students to very quickly understand the perspective of others and understand the nuances in very complex problems. So I really appreciate that you all highlighted those experiences. I did want to take a note too, because both Jasmine and Erin, you mentioned your entrepreneurial ventures and things like that. And I think this is a space, and certainly Lucy, if you have experience in that space too, SOM has made a lot of investment, and Yale in general have made investments in the space to really support entrepreneurship and diverse experience of entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship through acquisition, for example, those types of things, as well as tons of case competition. So I wonder if either of you want to elaborate on some of those resources and if any of those have been useful for you for your current or maybe future entrepreneurial ambitions.
Yes, Yale has a very great entrepreneurial ecosystem, as Amber just shared with us. The TSAI City Center for Innovative Thinking at Yale. I think I got it right. It's
Yes.
an entrepreneurship, I guess, suite hub within Yale more broadly, and they have funding as well as mentorship available for startups of different, I guess, in different maturities. There's also a group called Yale Ventures. They have a pitch competition every year, which additionally makes a lot of funding available. Within SOM, there's a dedicated, I guess, curriculum, a department for entrepreneurship specifically. As Amber mentioned, entrepreneurship through acquisition. We're lucky to have one of the world's leading experts, AJ Wasserstein. His classes are always at capacity. People are on these really long wait lists to get in because he's at the top of what he does. So in terms of mentorship as well as funding opportunities, SOM has a lot to offer.
Yeah, I second that. Thai City is a wonderful resource. I haven't started a venture personally at Yale, but I'm seeing all my friends who are, for doing their demo days or their pitch days at Thai City, and they'll get good support. And also, it's also baked into our curriculum with the Innovator, which you take in spring two. And that's a lot about entrepreneurship. There's also Founders Practicum you can take where you work on your venture for credit. So there are tons of resources at Yale for entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I guess just to build onto that, I also personally have not started my own venture at Yale, unfortunately, but I do have friends who have. In fact, one of my great friends from the first year, I think she won the City funding for her entrepreneurship project at the time. So she was a dual silver scholar and dual degree with the School of Architecture. And in this case, like Yale's really great entrepreneurship ecosystem has supported her a lot to work on her venture, both in terms of finding co-founders, but also like in terms of getting funding and support and resources for her venture. And in fact, now that I think about it, this is not limited to silver scholars, but someone from the first year of my MBA class, three people from my cohort back then, they founded this amazing venture. I think it's something in clean energy called gosh, I have to remember a name, but they are basically working full time on the venture right now, and this has become a career for them after MBA, and the venture is going quite well. Like, and I see them on posts on LinkedIn all the time, and I think it was just a great environment for people to find those with similar interests and also has the support to explore those interests further if that is a path that we want to go down.
Yeah, that's excellent. I think that the Silver Scholars program is an excellent program for people that are either have started a company already or are thinking about doing so, just because you can use that kind of gap time to continue working on, and sometimes finding funding to cover your expenses during that time as well. And you're still connected to Yale throughout that time when you are working on your venture. So I do think that it's a pretty interesting resource for entrepreneurs. Before I open up, and for those of you in the audience, I'd love for you to add some questions to the Q&A for our panelists. Again, this session is largely focused on the student experience as opposed to admission. So I'm going to take some of your questions in a couple minutes, but I would love for you all to talk about, maybe a club experience. I know some of you talked about the professional club. So we have 80 clubs at SOM. It's more clubs than possibly anyone can attend all of them, but just related to social opportunities. We have the Partners Club for people coming in with their partners. We have sports clubs. We have the hockey club where people can join even if they have no hockey experience. We have an annual game between the first and second years, which is always a crowd pleaser. So maybe if any of you want to talk about like a social experience with the clubs or in New Haven in general, to just kind of highlight the other aspects of the SOM experience.
So I would love to add in to talk about my social experience, I guess. So I have always, I guess, liked to skate, not professionally, unfortunately. So the hockey club was a great venture to explore that. Ice hockey is a big thing at Yale, and you definitely have a lot of people joining the hockey clubs. And and for those who maybe want to skate, but also don't know how to skate, they teach you to skate. And more importantly, for me, I tried to join the hockey club in my first year, but unfortunately, I had a few conflicts with the practice sessions, which happened at Wednesday night. And what I ended up doing was I actually joined as maybe more like a buddy, just to watch the hockey practices, cheer along, and that was a super cool experiences for me just in the first year. And even more like just having the ice rink very close to the SOM building. It's like 5 minutes walk, and we have open skate sessions like on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's a great resource for me just to explore this interest, because I currently go skating like every week during those open skate sessions. And so far, Yale is the only school that I've known that has that resource, and I think that's very valuable just to explore some personal interest. And in terms of like other interest, I really enjoy the Arts and Culture Club. The Arts and Culture Club's the club that hosts the winter, spring formals, like really nice dance parties where you get to go with your friends or your partner and just enjoy the night. And they also, in addition to that, host a lot of interesting art sessions. Like I think next week they're hosting like a paint and drink section, which is super cool. So that's definitely catering to my interest, and I think those are all great venues to meet people. If you just want to fit into the community a bit better and meet new people with similar interests in that realm.
Yeah, I second hockey. I play hockey. I played last year, I'm playing this year. And it's the best part of my week. It's the Wednesday night, you like de-stress, you skate on the ice, you see the beginners fall, you see the really good players, they're so fast. So I second hockey. I also am a big fan of like women in management and APIA. So APIA is Asian American Pacific Islander Association. I'm a family lead, and that's been a big part of my social experience. I think it's cool to have an affinity group, people going through the same struggles as you, people to relate with you, and we all like have similar interests. And so we meet like maybe once a month. We get dinner, we talk about our semesters. It's been a very good community to be a part of.
I will second what Lucy said about the Arts and Culture Club. We also do a musical every year. So if you like to sing, even if you don't like to sing, you should still do the musical. I'm also a part of the Christian Fellowship. We do a variety of events, sometimes speaker events, sometimes group Bible studies, have breakfast together, do some service in the community. That's also been a great community that I've been able to plug into during my time at SOM.
Yeah, I love that. And really, there's something for everyone at SOM, regardless of your interests. We have things like small dinners. I know we have the Friendsgiving that's coming up, which is a major event where everybody shares this group meal, kind of American Thanksgiving style, that, just bringing the community together in different ways to celebrate different holidays and appreciate one another's cultures and backgrounds. Just makes it a welcoming place. And I love the hockey club in that you really don't have to know how to play hockey or even have been on the ice before to participate. And I think that is also a tribute to how welcoming the SOM community is that we really appreciate everybody just bringing their desire to learn and to participate to the table, and it really makes it a fun time for everyone. So I'm going to look in the Q&A for some questions. I know someone asked to just, if one or a couple of you can talk about how challenging it was. You're recruiting with often other MBA students. How difficult was it to find internships, employment opportunities that didn't require previous work experience, and how you navigated that, and maybe what resources you used to do so? So any of you that would like to jump in to answer that would be helpful.
I'm happy to begin. I will say recruiting transparently was a little more challenging than I initially anticipated, because as a silver scholar, where you're in this almost in between where you're a little too overqualified to be an entry level, and maybe you don't have as much work experience as some of your classmates who are also in the MBA program. That being said, silver scholars do get MBA internships and MBA offers. I was fortunate to get an MBA offer, same with Jasmine. So in terms of resources and support, again, I go back to the career development office. I think structuring your story in such a way that, yes, maybe I'm not as experienced, but I have these other skills and these other passions and other experiences that I can bring to the table. I think really refining your story and focusing on other transferable skills that you might have can certainly help you stand out within the recruiting process.
I guess adding on to that point, I think definitely there are struggles in terms of just finding resources, but I think it really is just about opening your horizon, and being open to different types of opportunities that's out there. So I think I mentioned that I did my a job in the Middle East. I was working more as an undergrad role, but in that sense, I think it's one thing, the first thing is to recognize that it's okay to not immediately get MBA job. I think it's the experience does matter, trying to start from undergrad level, and you can still accelerate your career just by coming back to the MBA role, like within, in my case, 2 years, which is still lower than the average time people usually spend before their MBA gap year. Another thing is that I have, as Erin said, have had classmates that successfully got MBA jobs directly out of directly in their summer internships, and this is more through looking in different pathways, networking with people, or even exploring internationally. I have had a classmate that got a investment banking summer internship in London because he was looking at international opportunities. I've had classmates that went to network with previous companies that they have interned with into it in her case, and she got a MBA level return offer. And those are all ways I think that can help you get that MBA level internship if that is what you're looking for. But if not, I also think it's totally okay just to go for the undergraduate route and then explore and get the experience that you need, explore different areas, and still get that acceleration by coming back maybe a few years earlier than the typical MBA career track.
Yep, I agree with most of what everyone said. It was initially, I think it's because you're recruiting for internships, but you're also recruiting for full time. But I think the benefit of coming out of school is that we have great time management skills. And so on top of that, you have CDO, you have all these resources. And yeah, like Erin said, like I was fortunate enough to get an MBA return. And so I think it's kind of, there's two parts to it. The first is getting the job. And, Yale SOM alums know the program and they're able to vouch for how good the program is. Also being transparent with recruiters, and like just, shaping your story. And the Silver Scholars is framed as a great opportunity that you have, you are accelerated in your MBA. You have the opportunity to work full time, which companies, usually generally like. And so these are all things you can use to your advantage. And then the second part is actually at the job. And the fact that you got the job means you're qualified. And then it's about networking. It's about showing the edge that you bring as a younger person, but then also learning as much as you can. And so it seems daunting and it seems intimidating, but if you think about it, there's really it's like a win-win situation, I think.
Yeah, I think you all highlight that a lot of times it's really nuanced and specific to each Silver Scholar in terms of what they want to do, what they want to pursue. And because it's such a unique program too, it takes a little bit more to explain sometimes to employers like exactly what it is. But when they understand as well that this is a very prestigious and competitive program, I think for the last year, we accepted 23 Silver Scholars into the class. So it's a really small group, a very dynamic group, a very ambitious group. And so we work with Silver Scholars through the CDO, through the clubs to help, bridge in terms of negotiation and how to present yourself and how to you kind of bridge those gaps along the way. So I think that that's really helpful to know. And I think also that flexibility in terms of geography is incredibly helpful as well. Because there may be, sometimes we're very focused on perhaps the New York market, but opening up to the larger global market sometimes can get you accelerated roles in those spaces. So I have a few questions around in terms of the application and how you approached it. And, the questions are kind of around like, how did you stand out? And as the admissions officer, I just kind of say like, the goal is really not to stand out, but more present basically your individual case of like why an MBA makes sense for you now. But maybe if each of you want to talk about your process, how you approach the application process, maybe any advice that you have for applicants who are starting out on this journey.
I guess I can start off. I think with the application for Silver Scholars, it's very important to, I think this is also mentioned earlier, to know what your career goal is, at least for the short term. This is not just, it looks good. It's a question, I think it was a question asked in the application, and it's good to have a story, but it's also generally important to structure your, I guess, your journey at Yale, because 1 year is very fast, as we will get to realize. And was just between meeting all the new people and exploring all the new clubs and taking classes, you also have to worry about recruiting. So I think it's important to know what you want to recruit for, have a basic idea of which direction you want to go to, talk with people who have succeeded in those directions, and just kind of like plan your search ahead so that when you get to Yale, you don't get like thrown off track. And I'm not saying this as if like you're set before you go to Yale and you don't get to explore new opportunities. No, I did not know that the Middle East really was an opportunity until I got here. But I'm just saying that it would be good to come in with an approach and then revise that approach as you go. And I think that's my biggest advice for how to get the best experience out of this program and also prepare for the applications.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And that's my advice to anyone applying to an MBA program in general is like, do as much groundwork as you can in exploration up front. Talk to people in roles that are interesting to you. Maybe network among your alumni from your undergraduate institution as well. You can also explore the Silver Scholars Program through our Student Ambassadors website. You can sort by Silver Scholar, maybe reach out to someone that's currently in the program if you have specific questions. But I do think, thinking about things up front, understanding which resources will be important to you, I think is really great preparation for your application process. Erin or Jasmine, do you have any advice for potential applicants? Anything that you wish you had known when you were applying?
I'd like to second what Lucy said. I might also add there are 3 questions that I encourage everybody to consider. First, why Yale? Second, why MBA? And thirdly, and probably most importantly, why now? Why do you want to do this now as opposed to waiting 1, 2, 5 years? This program is very different than a 2+2, where it's I think called the deferred MBA, where you're accepted now and then you wait. This is a very different experience. So I just encourage you to really consider, why do I want to do this now? Do I really want to do this now? Or am I doing it just to do it?
Yeah, I third that. These are 3 very important questions. I'd also say I highlighted a lot of my extracurriculars at during my undergrad time, just because I sang in a cappella, I did my entrepreneurship things, and so these are things that it's important to include them. It's a better, fuller view of who you are and what the impact that you've had in your undergrad community, and it also signals what you can bring to the SOM community.
Yeah, I think those are all great points. Just when we're looking at the applications, because most people don't have full-time work experience, we are looking deeper into your activities. We are looking at those internships. We are looking at your participation. Maybe you were a TA at school, all of those things. So don't be afraid to show those pieces of yourself that are important and highlight kind of how you are unique. I think when people think like, how do I stand out? And it's not really about, doing something for the application, but just maybe like highlighting who you are, using that real estate across the application to just give us a full picture of who you are, what you've been up to, what you're excited about. I think that that's something that is pretty common among SOM students. Like they're coming with, a passion and purpose in whatever interests them, and we like to have that like diversity of interests. And I know we have a bunch of other questions in the chat, but a lot of them are related to the admissions process. And Jen, if you don't mind putting my email address into the chat, please feel free to reach out to me. It's amber.walsh@yale.edu about admissions questions. We also do have regular virtual sessions, Q&A sessions specific to Silver Scholars, so we can talk about all the nuances related to the application. Folks talked about which round should you apply in. A lot of people are applying in round 3 for Silver Scholars just because it aligns with other deferred enrollment programs as well, but you can apply to any of the rounds. Everyone is considered for financial aid, and there's no difference in terms of what we offer for Silver Scholars in terms of financial aid. So, please be encouraged to reach out if you have any questions. And I do want to say thank you so much to Lucy, Jasmine, and Erin for taking the time to spend your lunchtime on a Friday with us. Really appreciate you all. And again, the Silver Scholars are a really special group of people, and I think you all highlighted that really well today. And so really appreciate you being here. And thank you to all of our virtual attendees as well. I wish you all the best of success in your next steps towards an MBA. Thank you all so much.